everybody, to another episode of Porch Talk. This is episode 14 of our series. This episode is sponsored by Wyatt pole holders. If you have fishing poles that you would like to display safely on the wall or just need a way to get them off the floor, Wyatt pole holders has what you need. So on Etsy, he has a nice selection of fishing racks to fit your needs. Pine, oak, and poplar are just some of the wood used to craft these beautiful racks. Engravings are also available upon request.
If you live in Southwest Virginia, Southern West Virginia, or Eastern Kentucky, find yourself looking for equipment rental, give Cantrell Holdings Equipment Rentals a call, 276-596-3078. They have excavators, backhoes, loaders, and jackhammers available. Cantrell Holdings Equipment Rentals has equipment for any job, big or small. Be sure to give their Facebook page a like and follow to learn more about their equipment rental options, including their operator services.
So this is another episode we got here in Porch Talk, but this is a special one. We're going to start off with an interview of Honaker, receiver, and DB, safety, DB, I guess.
Free safety, yeah.
Free safety from Honaker High School, current record holder of... I'm going to try to go through these because that's a lot. So you got receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, interceptions, and there's probably more than I'm missing.
So I got the single season and all of those, and then I'm actually tied with the single season for interception right now, and that's the last one I got to break.
Okay, so we're honored and blessed to have Parker Bandy on, and we're going to try to get a little bit. Yeah, thank you, Parker. Thank you. We're going to try to start with, just like we do with every guest episode, try to start with a little bit about his life and getting into football, where he fell in love with the sport, and then we'll just roll from there. So, just on that same note, when's the first time, Parker, you remember kind of falling in love with the sport and playing football?
Well, actually, whenever I was little, I tried to start playing when I was 3, but they wouldn't let me play until I turned 4, so I had to play a year of soccer. And then I started whenever I was 4, and then I played with the Cowboys in Richlands until my 7th grade year.
Okay. I said they hate to lose you. You want to ask me more? I'll let you go ahead.
We have a 3 or 4 year old league soccer coach that is on our podcast quite often. What do you remember about soccer? Did you like it enough? Like back then, did you want to keep playing, or was it just a thing you did?
It was a 1-year thing. I remember playing it, and I hated it. I played 1 year, and I was done with it.
Yeah. So football was always your number one choice, I guess.
Well, actually, basketball always was, okay. and then middle school football and JV. I didn't like it at Richlands, and I came to Honaker and found a new love for football, and it's blossomed into what it is today.
Awesome. Yeah, I played soccer, and I don't know, up through maybe 2nd or 3rd grade, and it was too much running for me. So like a little league and stuff like that, even going up to JV, was you in the league with Lebanon and I think maybe was Tazewell in it? I think you're in the same league that I was in when I played.
Yeah, I remember playing against like Twin Valley, Honaker, Lebanon, Grundy, all those.
Oh, okay.
I played all against them, and actually 1 year in like the Big Blue Bash or whatever they called it, I actually played for Honaker with Tyler Cole. Me and him went and played for Honaker.
Oh, okay. So I always thought, weird. I mean, I know that consolidation and stuff like that, people have different views on it. But man, if you get like an all-county team, that'd be something to watch. Yeah. Compete against the other counties. So, so you said you're going into 7th grade. So you was already back at Honaker then when you started going into JV.
No, actually, my sophomore year when I transferred to Honaker.
Oh, okay. So you play at Richlands for JVs now?
Yeah, my freshman year I was on JV for basketball and football, and actually baseball too.
Awesome. So what was it like over there for that? Because I know even in JV, Richlands has a rich, tradition over there.
My 7th grade year, they asked me to move up and play instead of playing my last year of midgets, and I started at corner that year, and I wish I actually got another year of midget and got another chance to play some running back and receiver then, but I moved on up, and I didn't really like it as much. It just didn't click for me in 8th grade or my freshman year. I started some games actually at quarterback and receiver my freshman year, and it just never jived for me there.
Yeah. You're asking me more.
Was your first year at Honaker, was that said your sophomore year, so was that Coach I'm drawing a blank.
Coach Hubbard.
Yeah, Coach Hubbard, was that his last year, I guess?
Yeah, that was his last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember I hadn't seen you in, I don't even know, man. It was years. And I was actually doing the chains at the Twin Valley game when y'all played that year. And I remember you walked by and I seen you and I was like, I felt very old all of a sudden. Like looking at me eye level, kind of. I'm like, this dude, like last time I seen him, he was 3 foot tall or something. Probably.
Oh yeah, I was all small growing up.
Yeah, so it was crazy getting to see you, but I mean, been keeping up ever since then, man. You're full grown now for sure. You are it's amazing to see the things you've done. Very happy for you, but we'll go right into that. You're playing for what was that year like? The first year at Honaker.
I really liked it. I worked out all summer with Peyton and like all the guys there, and I enjoyed it a lot. I got to see another offense I played with Coach Wells at Richlands my freshman year. So then I went to like the diamond offense with Coach Hubbard and just 2 receivers, and I got an opportunity to get the ball some. And then coming into junior year with Coach Tiller and Coach Wicks, it just changed, and I love the air raid.
Yeah. That was going to be what I led into because I know that just being a fan, which Coach Hubbard's a legend around here and everybody knows that, but the styles are way different between Coach Hubbard and then Tiller and then leading now with the air raid. So just the not just the style change, but even the culture of how big of a switch was that from Hubbard from one legend to one that's already making history with the season y'all are having now?
It was definitely a big change, and that summer that we got to work out with Coach Tiller a lot, and we started early in February, March, starting to throw and get everything put in. Then we were running our basic concepts and stuff like that, trying to get everybody used to running and understand.
Awesome.
I was going to say, leading up to that, I mean, I don't know what the records was like the year before your sophomore year or whatever, and then your sophomore year, but the standard at Honaker has always been very high. And by Honaker standards, there's a couple of calm lean years there, I guess, towards the end of Coach Hubbard's tenure. But did you all kind of know you had a very good group together there at a young age, and so y'all were looking forward, or what was that like? Did y'all kind of have an idea you could be good?
I knew growing up like Honaker was always good, and I got a chance to play with Peyton and Avery, and his dad actually coached us then. And then my sophomore year, we knew we had talent and everything. We were just all really young. We knew we needed to put in the work to be able to advance ourselves and put ourselves at the top of the region. And getting to play against my sophomore year, we played against Holston, and I think they went to the state semifinals, and that was a really good team. We got to see that, and then last year we played against Grundy and lost that one too. So hopefully we can learn from that.
Yeah, and you just kind of you talking about installing the system and stuff like that. Me and Jamar talked about in our very first episode, which seems so long ago now, but we talked about the buzz around here, and it was mainly from 7-on-7 and stuff y'all done in the off season and the success you had. So I kind of wanted to ask you about that, where y'all went, and just kind of how it felt, because I feel like this summer more so than last year, you all kind of had the air raid down a lot more.
Yeah, we worked on it all the time this summer. I mean, we would have weightlifting in the mornings, run routes then, and then in the evenings we would all get together and work on like our concepts and our plays then. We went to Eastside for a tournament, and we got beat by they're up there in Lynchburg, I think. I can't remember what they're called. They beat us.
New Bedford, is that who it was?
I could have been, yeah. And then we went to Virginia Tech, and we got beat out in the first round, which we thought we should have won that game. But we got up against some good competition then, and got some good reps up there and understanding, seeing different coverages, seeing what people play against us, and understanding like our concepts and how they work, and getting chemistry built is the biggest thing during the 7-on-7s. We played a lot against Graham this summer at Honaker, and that was huge, getting to see previous state championship teams and that talent versus us lining up every play.
For sure.
Yeah, that's anytime you're going up against competition like that, you only get better from it. So that had to be a huge help.
Yeah, and not only that, but just the quarterback receiver relationship is so important. And then going against guys like from Graham or any of those 7-on-7s, I imagine you and Peyton really formed a strong connection with timing and stuff. And the air raid timing is huge.
Yeah, that's one thing we've been working on for as long as all year, just trying to make sure our timing's right on every single route, just the chemistry's right, and making sure that he gets the ball out to me at the right time, and I read it and understand green grass, and when I need to turn my head and make the play on the ball.
Awesome. Go ahead, more.
I would just I'll let Cam dissect the air raid and questions, but I'll kind of we'll jump back and forth. But what is I mean, we had Coach Wicks on here, and I've known him for a little bit. We got to know him, a little bit here on the show. But what's Coach Tiller like?
Oh, he's energetic, man. I love being like around him and everything. He makes practice so much better, and like defensively, he gets us going out there, and he understands football on a high level.
Yeah, a few times I've not been around him, but been at games, seen him. He seems like he'd be a really good, cool person to play for.
Most definitely.
I don't like the players coach they use in NFL, but I mean, he seems like would be like you said, fun, and obviously high IQ. But he seems like he'd be somebody you'd want to play for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You get to communicate with him. Like me and him get to talk about coverages and like where we need to line up against specific plays or like other teams and stuff like that. And he lets me have input on that, and I really like that. And I like getting to talk to somebody about stuff like that, which is such a high level of football.
Speaking of you reading coverages and stuff like that, we harp on when I say harp, but we talk about the offense so much, and rightfully so. But Coach Wicks said something, and I think Tiller has echoed it a few times, how you're a coach on the field pretty much for them. So on defense, kind of what do you see while you're out there, and how much do you enjoy playing defense? Because, I mean, all we do is ask everybody about offense from Honaker, but, your defense has actually came up big in a few games this year.
Actually, I'm getting recruited to be a safety more than a receiver. Actually, like I went to Davidson for a visit a few weekends ago, and they like me for safety. And actually, I thought I was going for safety, but they like me for receiver. But like getting to read coverages and stuff, that's just I love doing that and understanding what a QB sees and how he's going to look and his hands. I mean, you can just read by like watching film and stuff. If you can break that down and understand different concepts they run and where he's going to read, you can make plays on the ball a lot easier.
Sure.
Yeah, your defense, you're obviously impressive on offense, their whole team, and defensively y'all are pretty, you're a very solid defense also, but just the takeaways that and not just you, but your whole team is like y'all are always having takeaways, but you in particular, you put me in mind of like a Ed Reed or like a Dawkins, and how you not so much like the physicality part of it, but like you cover space obviously as a athlete, but you don't have to answer this just to give a heads, like not give anything away, but do you bait quarterbacks sometimes into?
Oh, definitely.
It seems like to me in the games I've watched you play, like you'll be watching and like I'll see it, and you can. It's almost like you're like cat and mouse, like you're baiting them to throw it, like that. You don't see that as much in high school as you do in higher levels. So, like you're already a step ahead most of the time. It seems like on some of these plays.
The only person I can never get with that's Peyton. Whenever he goes against our starting D at scout team QB, he tries to bait me into stuff, and I try to study him up, but he's the only one that can thread the needle on me usually.
Yeah. He's probably used to going against you now for so long.
Yeah,
he probably knows what you think. Honaker's offense this year from what I've seen, as far as in Virginia, high scoring, it's the 11th high scoring offense in Virginia. So just to kind of keep on that same way of talking here, it's been a historical season for you all. We mentioned a few of the records that you had at the beginning, and I think Peyton's got a fair share as well. I think Aiden may have a few. I don't. At this point, I think a lot of y'all have the records for that offense. So, and this is if I remember right, the third time ever that Honaker's went undefeated.
Yes, third time.
Third time. So, how is just looking back on the regular season? I know your job ain't finished yet, but just looking back on it, how special was that, and how has the community kind of responded to you? Because we all know when you're playing good, well, even when you're not playing good, but especially when you're playing good, anytime you go out, everybody knows you. Everybody's wanting to talk to you, and that's a special thing. It's kind of like Friday Night Lights if you watch it.
I mean, Honaker's community is it's amazing. Everybody's so close, and like they love sports, and I'm so glad I get to play at Honaker. Like since I came to Honaker sophomore year, we've had great fans, great attendance, but you can tell with the winning and everything, people starting to buy in and everybody's there cheering us on. Like third downs, everybody's hyped every single time.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it matters also the style y'all play, because you can have a good record, and I mean wins and losses, and sometimes even that stuff for some of these places is not even enough to get. Like you might get the people out, but the atmosphere and the energy might not be as much. But the way y'all play y'all's energy seems to transfer over to the energy in the crowd too. I guess like I said, it's the high pace, it's never boring type of style y'all play. Because I've been to games before to some of these teams that are very good football teams, and you see a lot of energy maybe on like defense, but when the offense it's not as much. But you all are, I mean, like you said, you have a lot of hype going in the crowd. That's it's got to be good for that, especially for your all's offense to hear that noise and get your defense. Obviously, it's kind of the same way. It's not like y'all play fast on defense. Like everything y'all do, offense and defense seems to be fast, and that's a fun style to watch.
Yeah, we definitely try to get as many people to the ball. Hats to the ball is a huge thing that Coach Taylor preaches to us. If we can wreak havoc there and get a bunch of guys to the ball, we can start forcing turnovers by making people fumble. Just getting people to the hash can make negative plays and make it harder on the offense versus us.
And I'll say this before I go into the game you got this week in the playoffs. Just on that same part, because I'm a huge fan of the air raid, which he's already said. Me and Coach Wicks talked about on the podcast. And I've always argued that I think the system brings out more kids because even though, yes, you are putting up huge numbers as the starting receivers, I feel like it's an offense that would rotate guys in and stuff. So, and I guess you kind of spoke on it a little bit already, but just that offense, have you seen a big uptick and stuff as interest with the kids in school that maybe you wouldn't have played football before, but now seeing this offense, and not, in my opinion, I think you get a lot more playing time in this offense.
Yeah, definitely. From my sophomore year to now, we've got a lot more kids out, and like today at practice, everybody was bought in, and just if you can be involved in the practice and the game, it just gets people invested and interested in the game.
Yeah, sure. So I did want to mention because this is, of course, the first week of the playoffs. So you're gonna have a rematch with Royal Retreat. So back-to-back games. So just kind of. I don't want to go too deep into it because I know y'all don't want to give anything away, of course. But just to kind of speak on the game you just had with them, and then just what you're looking forward to this Friday, and not just the game itself, but the atmosphere, the playoff atmosphere.
Definitely. We came out flat. I'm just gonna be honest there. I mean, we did come out 14-0, but our energy and warm ups wasn't where we should have been, and we weren't as focused on the bus ride as we should have been over there. And after the 14-0, we let up. We should have kept going and pushing the tempo. And we talked about it this week in practice how we need to focus on that and having a home game is getting the fans there and energy up. I think that'll boost everybody's morale and everything like that.
I thought about asking you this, or like when I found out who y'all were playing, And I thought to myself, how would I enter it? And I really don't know. So what are your thoughts? That first round, do you think it's better to play a team like that back-to-back weeks, or would you gain an advantage somehow, or other than playing them maybe earlier in the year, or is there really any kind of difference at all? What do you think about that?
It's definitely weird to see the same team twice in back-to-back weeks. It's going to be different, but getting to see them, and it's not going to be like in practice. You see one look and you'll get to see it again. We know they're going to try to change some things that they thought they didn't work on or didn't do well or stuff like that. Have different looks with Avery back there. Definitely have some different looks on us or their defense. And so, I mean, there'll be some things they'll change, and we'll be able to adjust and make halftime adjustments and stuff like that. But getting it just now to see them and everything will be prepared.
So I did want to touch on just a few more things before we let you go. Recruiting-wise, you mentioned it a few times. How is the recruiting process going, and what's some of the schools you're looking at right now?
The recruiting process, I'm just taking it one step at a time right now, and I've been going on some visits and stuff and setting up official visits later on in the winter and stuff like that. Some schools I like are Davidson, Emory. I've looked at some at Y some, but I wouldn't mind to go to a high academic one school like a Lehigh. I've talked to them some, and then I plan on going to some more visits and stuff like that, like Virginia Union. And then I'd like to go in like a William & Mary or stuff like that. That's some other schools I've looked into.
I've seen, your mom post your pictures of your recruiting stuff on Facebook. If nothing else, it looks like it's a lot of fun getting to go to all these games and something I don't know about. I don't think, Cam, you didn't really get. Neither one of us really got recruited in anything, so we don't know what this is kind of.
Well, you did basketball.
Like. No, I didn't get recruited by anybody.
Well, I got recruited on the couch, maybe.
So this is seeing all that. Yeah. It's got to be a lot of fun. It's something that, like I said, you see.
It's hard.
At least he's not up in your lap. I have a random cat jump up here in a minute, probably. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, it looks like it's like I said, a lot of fun. You had one of your teammates was with you not long ago at one, I think. So, but yeah, congratulations on all that, man. That's we're looking forward to seeing where you end up. But yeah, you got anything else, Cameron, on the football here, real quick? Or?
I just have I got two more things before we let you go. If you don't care,
I'm good. Yeah.
One thing I didn't want you, since we are talking about recruiting, I'm not sure any coaches do listen to us, but God willing, maybe one of them will eventually. What's something you want to tell college coaches that are looking at you right now?
I want to tell them that I can see the field and I understand football, and I can talk on any level about football concepts, schemes, different formations. I understand it all. And I'm going to work hard every single day and being able to just go out there and compete and give myself a shot at earning a spot or earning a higher level of this, like first, second string. Just getting on the field is huge for me.
And just to kind of close it out, I did want to ask you, because I know we all, when we play, have something that kind of close to our heart that we play with. Just motivation-wise, what's something that you play for, or just something that drives you to play?
The biggest thing is my grandfather. He passed away, and I've played for him since he's passed away. That's why I changed it to number 4 and everything. And if you see me before I run out every time, I throw 2 4s every time for him. He loved number 44. That's what his race car number was, and everything like that. And every time my uncle sends me a text every game and just talks about my grandfather and stuff like that, and how I can play for him and getting a chance to shine, and everything like that.
Awesome. And you definitely shined this year, and as well as the offense. We want to thank you for coming on with us. You're the first player we've had. We definitely hope to have more, but I think we started off with a great one. And like I said, I appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck. We both do this coming Friday. And I'm hoping that I get back from work in time. I have to catch some of it, but I'm not sure. I'll probably be standing. So.
It means a lot to be on here. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, there's a good chance I might just come out at Honaker instead of going in because there's no other games really that, as far as driving wise, that are relatively close. So if it's not pouring rain, I may be here on the porch. If it's pouring rain, watching y'all on the TV. But yeah, I may end up making my way over there. But yeah, anyway, best of luck. Hopefully, get to see you play several more.
Hopefully.
Stay healthy, man. Good luck.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, man. So we're going to continue with this episode. Again, awesome to have Parker on. I mean, he did great. You can tell he's already a natural. So if you want to, do you want to run through the games and we can kind of hit on a few of them?
Yeah, well, let's go over the scores from last week real quick before we get into the.
Okay.
I mean, you had Gate City beating Ridgeview 28-0. Ryan O'Quinn left the game in the first quarter. He only played one series in that game. Not sure what his status is for this week, but Eastside beat Castlewood 62-6. There's again, like I think Cameron mentioned it on the podcast with Rusty. I think it was Rusty when y'all went over high school last week. Everything, most of the stuff we get is from a newspaper. So I don't want to take any credit for any of his little stories or tidbits that we tell in here because I get them all from somewhere else. But I thought this was cool. Eastside only win last year came against Castlewood in the last game of the season, and they beat Castlewood this year to guarantee their playoff spot. Going from winning one game last year to
that's pretty special.
Playoffs this year, that's a pretty good turnaround.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about Eastside, Hamilton, their running back, had 215 yards, 16 carries, 4 touchdowns, had 4 tackles on defense, and he broke the single-season rushing record for Eastside. Graham beat Richlands 43-0. You and Rusty talked about Richlands before, how y'all grew up going to their games. 0-10 for the first time in school history, I think.
Yeah.
Rough year. I'm not real sure what went on there, what's going on. If it's just one of those rare years where you don't have numbers, or just that the things don't work out, or if you had a tough, they always have a tough schedule, so there's really there's no wiggle room for a bad year. But 0-10, man, that's never thought I'd see it.
Well, and I also, I'm sure you probably already mentioned it, but Coach Tarter also resigned after that game.
Yeah.
And which I know, I think it was Coach Wicks that spoke on him, and I'm pretty sure it was Tarter he spoke on, talking about how he really liked him a lot. And so I'm sure, the players like him. Sometimes, scheme fit just doesn't work out, and you never know what could happen. It could be a lot of just, sometimes you have a run through with talent that comes through that you're good for a lot of years, and you might just have, there's a lot of ins and outs to go to that.
Yeah, it's just, I could see him being down, a few years, but I never thought I'd see him go 0-10. It's just, McGrann, they play a tough schedule. So
definitely.
You don't have any cakewalks on their schedule by far. Yeah. So in a down year, you don't have a guaranteed win like a lot of places do. But
I do want to say my sources are telling me that they're looking at Coach Mike Compton's son, that I think is actually on the staff right now. I'm not sure at what capacity. I don't know what position. Might be a D coordinator. I'm not sure. So I think that's a name they're looking at.
Yeah. They actually made 12 total straight losses for them, which is also it's a school record for most losses in a row. They lost last 2 last year. Graham Clements had 160 yards with 3 touchdowns, and he broke Jamal Bradshaw's career rushing record for Graham. So that's pretty cool.
That's special.
Right there for sure. Can't wait to see him in the playoffs. Glad he's healthy. Union beat John Battle 40-14. Patrick Henry beat Northwood 48-8. Goodspeed had a terrible game with only 140 yards.
Only 140 yards.
obviously he didn't really have a bad game, but you get used to him throwing up 200 and 300-yard games. But he only carried it 12 times. So
gosh, that's he need to get that in the first drive.
And 5 touchdowns still.
Still 5.
So I mean,
just 5.
Just 5, yeah. But anyway, you scored on almost half the times you carried it. But that 38 touchdowns for him this season is a single season score record.
I was just going to say on that note, the previous record, I think at 30, you probably have read him. Was it 34 touchdowns before?
I think so, and it was only like a few years ago, maybe.
It was, yeah. I was going to say, shout out to Dakota Humphrey, because I actually worked with him for a while. So shout out to him. That record didn't last too long, but I know he was a heck of a ball player when he played.
I mean, if you're going to lose,
good dude. So
it's nothing to hang your head over losing it to somebody like Goodspeed. I mean, that's pretty good. Like I said, and that line, man, they just. I guess they have linemen every year. Patrick Henry is just a thing where they can just run the ball. So
physicality,
shout out to the coach over there, like you said before, just kind of. I guess that's what they do. So
Coach Padgett, man, it's physicality. We spoke on it several times. I think that's him. Okay, I'm sure Till, if he was on here, because I think they coach together, he'd probably speak on it too. But I think that that just seems to be his mentality. He wants to run it down your throat, pretty much.
Yeah. Grundy 44, Central 24. Speaking of down years, been a rough year for Central. I think one win on the season. I think Grundy had 370 yards of offense. Logan Lester had 3 rushing touchdowns and also passed for a touchdown. Tazewell 58, Lebanon 28. There wasn't a lack of offense in this game, or at least yards. Tazewell's Carter Creasy was 28 of 44 for 392 yards and 6 touchdowns. Excuse me. Lebanon's Mike Reese was 21 of 28 for 393 yards and 4 touchdowns. Tazewell Toby Baker had 10 catches for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Carter Dillon had 7 catches for 205 yards. Mike Reese is a sophomore.
That's
Hank Music's a junior. I think the kid from Tazewell he's not a senior either, is he? Or is he a senior? Junior. I think he's a junior. Ryko's quarterback's a junior. I'm pretty sure Twin Springs quarterback's I'm pretty sure he's not a senior.
That
may be wrong. But there was another one that I remember. Can't remember which one it was now, but a lot of good players around here coming back.
We spoke on it. We spoke on it. I don't know what episode it was, but it was a while back. Just the quarterback play in this area.
I hate to interrupt. Eastside's running back that broke the record freshman, right?
Ninth grader. Yeah.
So I mean,
probably the best ninth grader in Southwest Virginia. To be honest with you.
So, a lot of good players going to be around for a while.
Yeah.
Abingdon beat Lehigh 56-43. And this is our player of the week. For Abingdon, Owen Barr had 252 rushing yards on 16 carries for 3 touchdowns. And he had 3 catches for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he had 5 total touchdowns. Looks like they need them all. Lehigh put up 43. So huge game out of him. He had 5 tackles also on defense.
He also I don't think you mentioned it there. If you did, I was reading while you was talking about it. So hopefully I'm not reading over it again. But he has eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark now. He's got 1,192 yards and 19 touchdowns this year. And that's just as a running back, I'm sure he's got some receiving stats too. So again, 1,192 yards rushing and 19 touchdowns for Owen Barr.
And that's our player of the week. Moving on real quick. Rock Cove. Let's move it. Honaker 40, Rural Retreat 34. Kind of heard what Parker said. They jumped out early. Rural Retreat got it back in it. I read in the paper, Lowe, I guess, fumbled a kickoff, but come back out, scored, made up for it, and then actually had the game sealing interception late. Yeah. So, one of those redeem yourself moments. But they, putting up 40, but that was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. That's be an interesting matchup over there. I think you have to favor Honaker, obviously, but it's number one seed. But that's kind of what I was asking Parker about. Like, would you rather see somebody like that personally back-to-back weeks, or would you rather it be if it has to be somebody you've played already, would you rather it be from earlier in the year, or would you rather it be somebody you haven't played yet?
Yeah, and which we can talk maybe a little bit more on it here in a little bit after we do the rundown and we start talking about that matchup specifically. But I mentioned it last week. I think that was a dangerous game because I think Royal Retreat was one of the better teams in the district, and going over there, I know they Honaker's been on tear all year. It's hard. I don't say it's hard, but I think it goes without saying that there's a lot of pressure when you go over there and you're looking at an undefeated season.
Yeah.
You're looking at going over there, clinching the district, then rolling into the playoffs as that number one seed, which I'm sure they would have been that anyway. But nevertheless, that's still you going over there. All the pressure's on you guys, not Royal Retreat. They're sitting at home and they're like, they're the ones trying to pull off the upset. So now, could this have been? Because we'll talk about it here in a minute, but could this have been a hint of what's to come this week? Maybe there's more trouble. Maybe it's still a closer game, or was this the best game that Royal Retreat could have had in a position where they surprised Honaker a little bit? Maybe this is their best shot. I don't know.
Considering like I said, we'll talk about it later. I think considering their 8 seed season they've had, unless they're getting a bunch of players back that have been hurt throughout the year or getting them healthier.
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably one of those trap games you're talking about, senior night on the road, 10-0 record on the line, Royal Retreat, Honaker got a bullseye on their back. Probably one of those deals, but you never know. So I guess we'll find out Friday.
Well, I was just going to say on that game, Aiden Lowe, I guess you said he had that's the one you said had the fumble.
I think that's what it said, because he talking about forgetting the kickoff.
He had a fumble
behind
there,
him, moving on,
in the third quarter, and then he's the one that sealed the game-winning touchdown run and had the game-clinching interception.
Yeah.
So
all within like 8 plays or something crazy.
Yeah, I would have. I couldn't went over there, but I wish I would have. That would have been a wild game to see.
Yeah,
because we were following it on our phones, which if I was able to go somewhere last Friday night, I probably would have been. Me and you both probably would have been at Twin Springs at Nicholsville, because that was a crazy environment for what you said.
I was never not going to that one. So
yeah.
Of course, I didn't think it would be as close a game over there either. So
yeah.
You mentioned it could be close, but I didn't think it'd be that close.
Yeah.
Marion beat Virginia High 22-20. Chilhowie beat Holston on a last-second field goal, 17-14. I think it's all the scores that I got from I missed this one. Hurley beat Twin Valley 46-14. I think it's all. Did I miss any? Do you remember you're thinking of?
No, I think I will say one. Chilhowie, they end up beating Holston. Justin Gonzalez got a 29-yard field goal as time expired to win 17-14. And that, if I'm not mistaken, that's what got Chilhowie into the playoffs.
Did you not hear what I said?
Did you say that?
Yeah, it makes me worry if people listening can't understand anything I said the last.
No, I heard all of it. Honestly, I think that sometimes I look ahead and try to prepare myself, because I'm like,
it ain't no big deal. I literally just almost said the same thing you said right before.
Oh gosh,
I said,
okay.
The last one I said was Chilhowie wins on a last-second field goal with 17-14, and then I said Hurley Twin Valley.
Yeah.
When you started talking, I was like, God, I hope they can hear me.
Maybe disclaimer, guys. I've been up since 2:30. I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm making an excuse. I'm sorry.
That's all the scores I had from last week, so we can we can get into these playoff games moving on this week.
Do you want to run down all of single A or single A and double A, just the matchups, and we can go over it after? That work? And I'm going to go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, you're good.
Are we playing music?
Oh yeah. Throw it in there.
Single A, you have Honaker playing Royal Retreat. Ryco plays Eastside. Twin Springs plays Chilhowie. And Patrick Henry gets Grundy. Patrick Henry and Grundy, a rematch of last year's Reeds and D championship game. In 2A, Union gets Virginia High. Graham gets Lehigh. Gate City playing Marion, and Tazewell gets Ridgeview. And I don't know what seed Abbott ended up, if it was 6 or 5, but they go to Christiansburg, I think, in 3A.
Yeah, I think they're 5, maybe. I actually had that wrote down and got sidetracked here when I didn't listen to you talk about Chilhowie, I guess. So yeah, they're 5th seed. They're 6 and 4. We're going to Christiansburg 7-3.
As far as trips go, they could have been making that's not a bad one for them. They have to, like, time wise.
Yeah. I guess we'll go through the single A first.
Well,
a lot to unpack there.
If you want to go by days, break it down in days because they're different.
Whatever you do. I'm okay with either one. But I will say, when you go to Unions, I don't know if you saw, but they did just change their game time. I actually
when do they play that?
You saw it? You have it on there?
No, when do they play?
So Union High School put out there today that now they'll be playing their first round playoff game against Virginia High this Saturday at 2 o'clock.
So they're playing Saturday now.
Yeah.
2 o'clock, you said?
2 o'clock, yep.
So Thursday, and we can talk about this if you want to, but why are they doing this Thursday night game? Is it they like have a referee shortage? They're trying to spread them out.
Could be. It could just be trying to, I guess, really highlight that game. I mean, sometimes I don't agree with Thursday game too much unless you're just going to call school off Friday for both schools.
Well, they don't do this in playoffs ever. I've never seen them do this.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're just really trying to get something new with more exposure.
I think it's a referee problem. I think they don't have enough refs.
Could be
that they trust to do a playoff game, but
yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, Marion is at Gate City Thursday night, 7 p.m. I don't see any issues for Gate City here.
You think who do you have there, Marion and Gate City?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Gate City is rolling hot right now. I mean, they're Luke Blitz. I think he had 3 touchdowns last week. He's playing great. I think that defense is really zeroing in. And I think that Ridgeview game, even though I know that Oakland got hurt, that's got to be a good win. Ridgeview, first off, doesn't get shut out. I think that, and I don't know, again, if you mentioned this earlier, because you probably did, and I just didn't hear it, given my track record for this pod. But this is just the 3rd time in program history that they've even been shut out. And the last time it was 38-0 against Paintsville, Kentucky in 2016. So it's been a long time since Ridgeview has had a shutout like that. And, we'll talk about Ridgeview in a second, but you got to say that Gate City is probably feeling good coming off of that win, especially as being shut out, even with Ryan not playing. So, yeah, I'm like you. I think Gate City's going to take this one. It's nothing against Marion, but I think Gate City's really getting hot at the right time, and Luke's been playing great.
Friday, we have several games. Lehigh goes to Graham. Long night for Lehigh. It's a long trip to go and get beat bad, but I got a feeling that's probably what's going to happen. Graham healthy right now as far as everything I know. I think they're going to be a very, very good team and hard to get out.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rest of the state has, but I don't know if they'll be as good this year as they were last year, but they may make a run at it.
Well, I was actually looking at Graham's. They posted the full 2A football playoffs through all 4 regions, and we know how good they're going to be with Clements back now. I mean, you can see it; they're just on another level with him. And we don't know going forward what's going to play out, but everybody's looking at potential Graham Union rematch with Clements there.
Mm-hmm.
And you look forward past that. I mean, to me, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about single A necessarily, but I think that I can see a path definitely for Honaker to get all the way to the end. And it's not necessarily a knock against the other regions, but I don't see any. I think Honaker's at the top. And we have Grayson County, Galax, or not Galax, George Wythe and stuff like that. And like I said, we'll get to that here in a minute. But in the 2A playoffs, you got Radford sitting up there in Region C. They've been playing great. I trying to think that quarterback's name they got. He's very good. And then, like I said, you got Union in their own region, but then you got Riverheads making their debut in 2A. And they're a 2 seed right now, but you got to expect they're going to be good. I know they've been single A, but just the way they have that system, I mean, they got it down pat. For you to win, what was it, 6, 7 straight?
Something
I don't know what it was.
It was like so many in a row, and it was even more in the last 10 in the last so many years. It was crazy.
Yeah, so I mean that's a lot of. There's exciting matchups anyway in 2A just from the get go in the region that we're covering, but just across the whole state, there's exciting matchups.
I don't think there are that many exciting matchups in 2A in the region.
Well, maybe not in the first round, but what I'm saying is like once you get high,
potentially.
Yeah, potential.
Okay, I got you. Yeah,
on down the line. Yeah.
Yeah, that Graham Redford state semi.
Oh yeah, if that happens.
Get there will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I was actually going to get that quarterback's name, and he is like I've read a lot of good things about him. We can go on, and I'll get it.
East, let's see. East side also go on Friday night. We'll go to Rye Cove. I don't know what the score was, but I know it wasn't a blowout last time Eastside and Rye Cove played in the regular season. So, potential in I see potential in all of the single A, the 1A region games of potential upsets. Possibilities. There's no, obviously you have your favorites, but judging by the way their previous games have gone against some of these teams, I wouldn't be shocked if one of them, maybe 2 of them, got upset.
Yeah, Eastside is one team that I don't think anybody wanted to play. I listened to a podcast I mentioned last week. It was a Tailgate Talk, and they were interviewing Coach Warner on it, but they had spoke on Eastside, and every one of them was pretty much in agreement that that's not a team you want to play first round. And they've kind of been a weird team this year because I think they played Hurley close maybe.
Mm-hmm. In overtime.
Yeah, and so that's a game.
That's the one that when I went over to watch them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And so I was kind of thinking, well, maybe it's not against Hurley or anything like that, but I thought maybe, okay, they're not quite where we thought they were. But then there's a few other games that Eastside played this year that you're like, okay, they're absolutely a contender. I mean, at least, as far as pulling an upset, they're a tough team to play. And then with Keldon playing the way that he is right now, even with him being young, that's a tough back to stop. But you saw Rye play last week, so they're a different animal too. So.
I think Eastside's had a tremendous bounce back season. They're another program that, like I said, had maybe that's the one we talked about earlier, but them and like I said, Rye Cove from a couple of years ago some of these programs have turned it around completely in the last couple of years, and they're one this year that is from last year to this year has turned it around. I don't think that they're there that yet as far as like a huge threat to upset them, but they played them tough last time. But I think Rye Cove takes care of them this time. But it could be I could see it being a very close game for a while for sure. And you never know, team run the ball. keep them. You never know what could happen. Turnover here or there, you never know.
And the during that podcast, Coach Warner, I think, was speaking on that he had a few coaches from Twin Springs, I believe, that had actually went over. I think that's the coaching staff at Eastside. Maybe wrong on that, but about positive, that's what he had mentioned. I don't remember their names. So you with Coach Warner, he's set up a pretty good program there at Twin Springs. So for them to go from that to Eastside, I'm sure they got a good culture going.
Yeah, we got Roy Retreat at Honaker. We talked about already some. It'll be rain Friday night, so what do you think? I mean,
that plays in Rural Retreat's favor for sure. But at the same time, I mentioned the Patrick Henry game this year. I compared it a lot to. Of course, everybody knows I'm a Niners fan. If you couldn't tell, our game this year against the Browns, even though we struggled against the Browns regardless, and we didn't win. But before that game, Shanahan said, "Hey, this is the game that I want. I want it to be a close game. Well, not necessarily a close game. He wants it to be a hard-nosed game to where it's going to be physical. The rain's going to be a factor. There's going to be obstacles and stuff they're going to have to overcome because it's going to make them better for it." So with that same way of thinking, I mentioned it, I think, earlier in the year when they played Patrick Henry. I think that game was really important for Honaker because there was some rain there. The way that Patrick Henry played, they made it into a slugfest. So I think that Honaker's got a little bit of experience of being in that situation, being in that environment. And I think because of that Patrick Henry game, and also the game last week where they just played Rural Retreat, I think that they're going to be on point come this Friday. And like I said, the point, I think this game Friday, past Friday, kind of woke them up. Not that they were taking anybody lightly or anything like that, but that really, I think really made them focus in this week to another level. And again, like I said, the Patrick Henry game too, I think set them up for what they could encounter this Friday if it does rain.
I think it was almost better for them to almost get beat by Royal Retreat since they're playing them this week.
100%.
Yes. If they'd have went to Royal Retreat and beat them by 30 or 40 points, I don't feel like their focus would be as sharp this week. And obviously you can tell high school kids, hey, it's playoffs, reset. Go and want to win a game this week, go one game at a time. But they're still high school kids, and they still see papers. They know that they just beat a team, handily. It's harder for them to get them to not look ahead when you kill them. So that might be a blessing in disguise if they played them tough last week.
I completely agree with you on that.
The field at Honaker obviously is not. It's the artificial, so that shouldn't be an issue. But ball being wet, maybe. Hopefully, you don't ever want to see turnovers. I hate when, especially in playoffs, which is part of it, obviously. But I hate when weather affects games and play. It's just part. I know it's part of it, but I hate it. I hate when at that point you almost just want to see it at least dry. Best team move on, but again, part of it. If you can't handle that, then
it's all you. So you never want what ifs, but you're saying, that's part of playoff football. You're gonna have it being cold and rainy and maybe even snowing.
Like a Graham Lehigh, for example. I don't know what Lehigh has this year, but I mean, and I don't think the rain would stop Graham. Because it's obviously artificial turf too. But say, for example, you had to play on grass and it's a muddy mess. Graham's a speed team. They can, they run power too, but they're spread out and they're fast. So you got against a team that just lined up and got 2 or 3 yards at a time. That's going to benefit. That's why I say stuff like weather throws a complete X factor in some of these games. Not saying it will for Lehigh and Graham. That was just an example. But, it's just hopefully it won't be too bad. Grundy at Patrick Henry. If you're Patrick Henry, this is the last. Maybe they want this. Maybe it helps them like a revenge. A revenge game from Region D last year and this year, off earlier in the season. I mean, do you want that if you're Patrick Henry, or would you rather see anybody else other than?
I mean, I think as a fan, you're probably a little nervous about it, given the recent history. I think as a player, I want this just because I think. Okay, from the outside, I think looking at their program, I think that they want it because that's just a hard-nosed team. They're going to look at that and see it as a challenge and run head first into it. But I'm just going to be honest with you. Out of all the 1A matchups this week, you may think I'm crazy, but this one, I'm not saying this will be the best game, but this one interests me maybe the most. Because I just think that Grundy, to me, I think they played good this year, but I've not seen them. Like, that's the best they played all year, I think, against Patrick Henry. And so it makes it very intriguing because I think Patrick Henry also is a team that, I mean, they played Honaker tough. I think they could upset somebody. I think they could go on a run because that type of football, it travels, and in the playoffs, if the weather does get bad, I think it benefits them. So I think a lot of things could happen, but like you said, a rematch and maybe a team that you don't want to see if you're a fan because you remember what happened this year. I mean, that was Coach Bartley's first win, and so now this is his first playoff game.
Yeah, I agree with you. As a player, you want that challenge, and you got that in the back of your head, like this happened, so we want this to get this back. I don't know if probably not as a coach so much, but as a fan, you look at that and you're like, maybe Grundy's just a bad luck thing. I mean, it's obviously Grundy was pretty good last year, so that wasn't necessarily a bad luck thing. But then you come over here to Grundy and you get beat again when you're obviously favored, and I don't know. Sometimes teams just match up for some reason well with other teams, and I feel like Grundy for some reason matches up pretty good with them.
It's gonna be a physical game.
That could be a very good game. Yeah,
it's gonna be very physical, especially with the history here recently.
That's all Friday night. Saturday, Chilhowie goes to Twin Springs. I don't know anything about Chilhowie. I've not watched them really play or kept up with them much this year. I guess they finished third in the Hoggle-Higgy. Or I don't know if they even finished third or not, but they got the seed higher than Rory Retreat did, so I'm assuming that they finished ahead of them in the district. But again, at Twin Springs, they're good at home. Ridgeview at Tazewell. If Oakwind plays, this could be a shootout for a while, maybe. I don't know that. I'm not sure what the deal is, Ridgeview. I don't know how to. Some of these games, I could give up a lot of points to Abingdon and then to Gate City. So if they give up a lot of points to them, you think they give up a lot of points to Tazewell, but I don't know. I can't put my finger on what the deal is, what kind of team, what to expect out of them.
No, well,
if everybody's healthy.
I agree. Same thing. And you could almost make the same argument for Tazewell. Just because. Well, I want to mention a few things. We were fortunate enough Tazewell sent us some of the stats and stuff, so I do want to kind of shout out some of these stats they sent us. But the big point to what you just said is the same way I feel about Tazewell. Because Tazewell this year, they've won 5 of the last 6 games. The loss to, of course, Graham, which was a big loss. But as far as the teams that they've lost to, was Riverheads, Princeton, and Graham. They're really good teams with a combined record of 27-3. So the teams they have lost to are very good. I just want to throw that out there. But just to kind of acknowledge some of the things that Tazewell's done this year, because we've talked about Creasy all year. We've talked about McDonald. We've talked about Brock Alley, what he's done on defense. I didn't quite know to the degree of what they have done as far as for that school history-wise. So this year they've scored 354 points, which is the highest scoring team Tazewell's ever had. So that's impressive. You mentioned it already last week, Creasy. He had 396 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 6 different receivers caught touchdown passes. And for the offense, 7 different players scored touchdowns. And it was the second time this season that 6 different Bulldogs caught touchdown passes. So that's pretty special to be able to spread the ball around like that, because we know what McDonald could do, but then to spread it around like they do. This year so far, they're averaging 407 yards per game. They're averaging 302 passing yards, but not to be forgotten, they've also rushed for 105 rushing yards per game. This year,
hang on. Let me stop you real quick. Did you say, what did you say? 6 different receivers had touchdowns last week?
Yeah, well, that's what they had sent me. That's the second time that's happened. That's against Lebanon.
Well, okay.
Yep. No, that's what they sent me last week.
I was just wondering, because that one guy had 2 touchdowns. And then, so if he threw for 6, and one had 2, I don't know. That's what it was. I mean, maybe I'm not sure what happened.
I was
just confused. I just make sure you didn't mean it like 6 different people had receptions, because I know I've seen several times this year they've had 6, 7, 8 people at least have a reception. So I was making sure it wasn't what you meant.
Yeah, well, and for the on that point, it's spread out a lot. Carter Creasy, like we mentioned earlier, is a junior, and he's one of the better quarterbacks in this area. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the whole state. He's 193 for 303 on passing. His completion, passing attempt ratio. So he has 2,752 yards and 32 touchdowns, which is a school record with the touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. And in 3 seasons, Carter has completed 592 passes for 7,822 yards and 80 touchdowns. The 592 passes, his completion percentage is 65%. The 592 completions ranks the 6th most in VHSL history, which I thought was very impressive. The 7,822 yards that he has passing ranks as 11th most in VHSL history. He's a junior, so we still got another year of this.
Is that receiver that they have so good? What grade's he in?
McDonald's a junior.
They're going to score a lot of points next year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, they also had on here that Carter holds a school record for most passing yards in a game, 437, most touchdowns in a game, 7, most completions in a game, 35, most passing yards in the season, 2,982, most touchdown passes in the season, 32, most completions in the season, 234. He's had a very special year. He's also rushed for 6 touchdowns. But crazy thing about this is, and I don't know if it was you that I was talking to earlier about this. I know I was talking about it at work, but despite those numbers that he's had, he's never been selected to an all-district team. Ain't that crazy? I mean, that's
I guess last year, Graham was quarterback, I guess.
Possibly. I have to go back there and look and see, but they had to have some great guys. I mean, if he's not even been selected to a district team.
Reese last year, maybe as a freshman. Surely I would think he would have won it last year. Would he? I don't know what his numbers were.
I'd have to really go back and look and see for
me.
Who
else in that? Marion, Graham, Richlands, and Virginia High. I think.
Yeah, I'd have to go in there and look and see. But
but that is kind of crazy.
Virginia High had a really good quarterback. Was it last year or the year before?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to go back there and look and see, but I want to.
He don't get next year. If he has anywhere near if he has anywhere near, he probably all district. Yeah, it could be quarterback.
He should get it.
Yeah, because the guy from Graham's run back. So I mean, they're not competing for.
So he should get it. I did want to, and I did this with Honaker as well, because I'm thankful that the schools want to reach out to us, and I encourage more schools to do it. I wanted to just briefly run through these real quick because when somebody sends me these, I do want to throw these kids' names out here because I think me and Jamor have the same feeling about that when we did this. And it was more so Jamor's idea than anything. He thought it'd be cool to have players on to mention players because, just hearing your name in the paper and stuff like that, it's a special thing. So if we can reach even 50 people and you get to hear some of these kids' names and stuff, I'm sure they appreciate it. So just to cap off some of the stats they got, Avery Ziegler, hope I'm saying that right, senior, 107 rushes, 479 yards, 6 touchdowns, 18 receptions, 187 yards and a touchdown. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think I have his defensive stats, but I follow them on Taz he's always on their defensive player of the games and stuff. And I'm gonna butcher these names, but Kazan Taylor, senior, 24 rushes for 163 yards and 15 receptions, 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brock Alley, which is the defensive stud we've mentioned, I think even on one of the first episodes, has had 30 attempts with 160 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, 6 receptions, 44 yards. Our player of the week a few weeks ago that you already mentioned, Logan McDonald, which is a junior, has 47 receptions, 927 yards, and 13 touchdowns, which is a school record.
Have you watched him any?
I've not got a chance to watch. I watched some of the highlights, but I've not got a chance to actually watch him play a full game.
I've watched him play like a couple times, not in person yet, but yeah. I hope to maybe this weekend. But he's a big kid. I don't know how tall he is, but he looks like a big kid. That's a matchup problem for most high schools out wide like that.
And I
athletic out there, I mean, he's a problem.
And I don't know recruiting wise, but I'd imagine if he's just a junior now, he's probably getting recruited.
Oh, you would think so. I mean, just the size alone at that position, there's so much a big school could do with that. Keep him at receiver, put some weight on him, put him at tight end. He obviously has good hands, so I mean, you could do a lot of different things.
Sure. Brody Patterson and Walker Patterson. Brody has 32 receptions, 599 yards, 5 touchdowns. Walker Patterson has 28 catches, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, 16 carries, and 77 yards. Just 2 more names, or mention these real quick. Reese Moland, 25 receptions, 279 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Tyler Gillespie, senior, 24 receptions, 285 yards, 3 touchdowns. Keenan McGuire, Mitt Patel, and Hunter Snap have also caught touchdown passes this season. So spread out, huge offensive attack. I think we've talked about them. They're almost like the Honaker 2A right now in their area. Something I didn't know until I was reading this, that right now, the last 6 games, rushing yards allowed, they've only allowed 131, and passing yards, they've only allowed 100. So their defense actually is quietly not so bad. I mean, I know we look at like the Riverhead game, we look at, for instance, we look at the Graham game, and we all, we think I don't want to say we think the worst, but we don't look so highly on their defense like we do their offense. But they've actually had very impressive defensive games.
I mean, I don't know if we ever seen anything bad about the defense necessarily.
No,
but I guess I can't help but look back at like the Richlands game.
And that is the one that I think is the biggest question mark.
Yeah, which you know you can't judge the season by one game. Yeah. But I don't know. You just have question marks when stuff like that happens, I guess. I don't know. I mean, against Graham. It's not like their defense was put in a lot of bad situations against Graham. Yeah. Field position and stuff, off of interceptions and stuff like that. So I mean, and against Riverheads, Creasy got hurt. So
yeah,
I'm sure that didn't put him in good position. So I mean, they're probably a lot better than what people will give them credit for.
Was he hurt during he got hurt during the Graham game too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying it.
He got knocked out late after it was somewhat bad, but yeah.
Yeah.
He's a tough kid. He got hit.
Oh yeah.
In that Graham game a couple times before he went out that were pretty hard. I mean, pretty tough licks he took, and he got back up, and so he's got to be tough.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, there's a lot of, like we were talking about defense, there's a lot of stars on that defense. Like I mentioned, Brock Alley, he's got almost 80 tackles. Kazan Taylor, he's got almost 70 tackles, 5 sacks on the year, 5 forced fumbles. Jashawn Taylor, he has almost 50 tackles, got defensive touchdown. And then you got Avery Ziegler, Brody Patterson, Walker Patterson, Reese Mullins, who have all had picks on the year. And Logan McDonald, that we talk about in offense being such an awesome guy, he's had a pick, fumble recovery, defensive touchdown, and a special teams touchdown. So you don't want the ball in his hands at all.
I think they intercepted Reese 4 times last week.
Yeah, and Reese had a great game too. That's the crazy thing. He hit him with 400 yards passing,
and a good completion percentage too. So
yeah,
some of the incompletions he had were the interceptions.
But if I'm not mistaken, even though they gave up a lot of passing, I think they only gave up. They got it right here. Negative 6 yards rushing.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I was gonna say just to finish this out. Some things about that game is that this is the first home playoff game for Tazewell since 2009. And Tazewell has lost 8 straight playoff games and has never beaten a Mountain 7 team in the playoffs. Their last playoff win was 2008 at home versus Graham. So last year, Ridgeview defeated Tazewell 35-0 in round 1.
I hate to say anything good about Tazewell for obvious reasons, but they're going. I feel like they'll probably get. I feel like they'll probably get Ridgeview this weekend.
Oh, I think they will.
Then they'll be rewarded with. Well, matchup wise, I don't know that'd be an interesting matchup. Them and Union, if Union's able to get past Virginia High, that's a completely different style than what they probably used to playing.
I think that'd be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one.
Union's got great secondary too, though. So that'd be a cool matchup to see. Just 2 strengths going at it like that.
Let's get into that. That's all the games. So, Virginia High at Union, but getting to the potential matchups real quick. How much time we got? We got time, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at, possibility. Let's say Honaker, Patrick Henry, Ryco, Twin Springs, 2 rematches that I think we all want.
Yeah.
In 1A. Actually, it's good. You could just stop right there. That's good football. I mean, I don't know where you'd go to watch. I don't know where I would go.
Well, I'm glad you actually. I do want to comment on that, or not comment, but I want to ask you because we hadn't really got a chance to hear you talk about that matchup from last weekend.
Oh yeah.
But since you're talking about the potential matchup going into the playoffs, just talk about the atmosphere last week over at Nicholson.
Well, my feet got really cold. Let's throw that out there real quick. It was great, man. We were late getting there because of work, but we got there before the game started. But just something like that, you want to get there a little bit earlier. But completely, have you ever been to Twin Springs?
Yeah, I played over benefit game my senior year.
Okay, did you pay attention when you pulled into the school, the layout of the surroundings or anything enough to me? If I tell you something, you'll remember it.
Possibly,
how they have the big, you pull off the main road and there's that big, huge bottom that goes way up on the right, kind of to the left.
If you ask me about the field, I'll probably remember it. It was the road, the drive up there. I don't remember.
All that full park, already full. We got there, parked down the side of the road, main roads already. So it's really cool because when you walk up on the hill at Twin Springs, the bleachers kind of just bump up with the pavement.
Yeah, and I remember that.
So you basically just walk over and you look down and it's in a like a big bowl the field is. People everywhere, man. It's just a great environment, packed on both sides. Horns. Twin Springs has the big horn thing. Ryco brought horns everywhere. It was a great high school football environment. And as far as the game goes, Twin Springs, I mean, both teams went down and scored, open possessions. I can't remember exactly how I went. I know what started and got bad for Twin Springs was they were going to punt and the snap went over the punter's head, and they got downed it right there. I think it was inside the 10 or at least 15. So Rykov got a short field, scored, and scored again at some point, or before that maybe, made it 22-6. I want to say they scored right before halftime, either right before or right after halftime. I can't remember, but I think both of them only scored once in the second half apiece that I can remember. Because it was I think it was 22 to. What was the final score? 29-14.
29 to. It should have been 29 to 13 or no 20. I'm trying to think what it was.
15.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it and see. I remember it was an 8-point game before that last touchdown.
It was 22-7 at halftime.
Yeah.
So I think they only each scored once. But the second half defensive battle, man, like nobody could really. I mean, other than those couple of first touchdowns on it that they each got. I feel like there's a familiarity with teams when you play them in your district like that year in year out. That no matter what they do, somehow or another, you're almost ready for it. There was no big, huge plays given up by their defense. Maybe that one that Twin Springs had in the first half on a long pass, but Twin Springs hurt themselves, penalties, turnovers. I think Rykov ended up having maybe a turnover or two, but just overall, Rykov just won the line of scrimmage. I thought was the biggest difference in the game. They were able to just keep drives going, sustain drives, and capitalize more than Twin Springs was. But I think it'd be a very good rematch.
Something that I was very interested in, I didn't get a chance to go to the game, was the two dual threat quarterbacks, and we've talked about Lane a lot on here.
They did a good job with him, which again they didn't. I don't think they run him very much. A lot of his runs are off of he can keep it or hand it.
Yeah.
But not a lot of. They're late, especially in the second half. They just kind of lined it up and didn't really spread it out and run it up in a T backfield kind of thing and just run it straight at him. Didn't really try to do the whole spread as much. The Twin Springs quarterback, very athletic. You can tell.
I keep calling him Caleb Dingus for some reason. It's Abel Dingus.
Yeah.
I think I called him Caleb on the podcast last week.
He's very good. Got a good arm. They don't throw it a lot, but when they do, he seems to be pretty accurate.
Yeah.
They have that guy that made that good catch. He's a pretty athletic, tall kid. But Dingus was able to run some and get loose every now and again. I mean, it's just, I don't want to say it was mirror images of each other, but they're very similar in a way. But you could see why they both had good years. They just don't make a lot of mistakes. Except for, like I said, I think Twin Springs had some penalties that it probably don't normally have. But it was a very good game. The atmosphere was amazing. It was a playoff game, basically. I mean, you're not going to find a better atmosphere than that other than like a region championship game maybe, or a rematch if they have it in the semis.
Yeah, and the next time it'll be at Rykov. So, and they said last year that game was crazy. Pretty much the same environment, I think.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to mention, because we follow Rykov's page on Facebook, and I know we never got any traction with this, but maybe as we getting more viewers and stuff like that, maybe we'll start getting some traction with it going into the off season. But just traditions and stuff. Something I think that's cool that they do is, I think it's every week. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's every week though, because I was watching a video. They give a 12th man jersey to somebody in the community. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
I don't know what they gave one to a guy, and the players get to announce it and give it to him. And I think it's a special moment for them. And I think the guy I watched him give it to, he had been a vital parts of the community and the football team as far as helping them with things, and I'm sure helping them donate and stuff like that. I'm sure. And I saw another one too that I thought was pretty cool. I think it was Eastside. Their seniors. I'd have to double check on them. I think their seniors actually paint the midfield logo together. So I mean, those are tiny things, but I think they're pretty cool. Yeah, kind of like Hurley doing the wall.
Yeah. I was going to tell you, I did. That's the first time I've been back to Twin Springs football field. See, I'm pretty sure now. I don't want to lie to you. I don't think I've been back since. Since we got put out of the playoffs my junior year. Back when it was just 4 teams that made it instead of 8, because they didn't have all the divisions. They had single A. But you had 2 Division 1, Division 2, so you had 8 teams, I guess technically, but it was single A, Division 1, and Division 2. So you didn't really, you only had 4 teams that made it out of each region.
But and this is in basketball, right?
No, it's football.
Oh, football, really?
Yeah, we were 6-4 regular season my junior year.
Okay.
We went to Twin Springs as a 3 seed. Burton was 1, Twin Springs was 2, we were 3, and I can't remember who was 4. Castlewood maybe.
Yeah.
But we're not getting into why we lost or who, what should have happened. But first time I've been back here since then, and it was brought back some memories. We attempted a very, very, very long field goal right before halftime in that game that got blocked and returned for a touchdown. So that's one of the memories that came to mind when I.
Well, I was going to say, is that a lot of the same kids that play basketball for Twin Springs? Then they play football because Twin Springs has
Keith played.
Yeah.
He was a running back. That year, Chucky Lindholm had come there that season from Volunteer out of Tennessee. He was a quarterback. He was pretty good.
I was going to say,
Mark didn't play football that year, I don't think.
That's what I was going to say. I thought they had some good basketball teams those years as well, didn't they?
I think Mark was a freshman that year. No. He might have been a sophomore. He might have been playing. I don't remember him playing football that year, though. But I don't think that Tyler Webb played football that year, because he would have been a senior in basketball. So he probably – I don't think he played football that year. But I know Keith did. And I remember Lindholm did. He was a quarterback. But, yeah, they had some – that was when they were good that year in basketball. And went to the state finals, I think.
Yeah, I'm hoping that if that matchup happens and it's Twin Springs and Rocco again, I'd like to go to that one here in about 2 weeks. I work this weekend, but I'm definitely going to be trying to follow the games as much as possible.
And if I go to that one, it'll have to be a Saturday game because I can't get over there after work. It's a pretty good drive to Rocco.
Yeah. It probably will be a Saturday game. Something I wanted to mention because I mentioned it earlier and I did find the guy's name. The quarterback for Radford, his name is Landon Clark. He's already committed to Elon to play. So he's pretty good
basketball
player. No, football. He's committed to play football there.
So that's potential in 1A. And that's not even talking about Honaker and Patrick Henry yet, but we kind of touched on it already enough. So 2A, you're looking at possibility of probably Union playing probably Tazewell, which is completely different styles of play. And then Graham and Gate City, who are somewhat similar, but both like to run the ball more than throw it, but different types of run the ball. More of a power against kind of spread it out and run it. But those could be 2 good games. I mean, if you I tend to lean more toward the games being better in single A probably than 2A, but you never know.
Well, I think that the Tazewell and Union game, I think that's going to be a pretty good game. If anything, I think we'll see a lot of offense. I do think that Union secondary is. I think that's going to match up pretty well with Tazewell, but Carter Creasy's playing great this year. We talked about it. So I would like to see that. Union, they've been on tear all year. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that offensive attack. But now the Graham and Gate City game, I don't see anybody touching Graham yet. I really don't, not yet. And I think Gate City's played great as of late. And like we mentioned earlier with Bledsoe, he's played great. That program over there always has strong defense, I feel like, but I don't know if they're going to be able to stop Clements. He's just one of those guys. He's just a special player that he changes the whole game.
I don't see Tazewell keeping it close to Union either. The only reason, again, their game with Richlands is odd. Looking back now, the Union Ridgeview game being as close as it was, I don't know if Ridgeview was healthier then, or if, I'm not real sure. I think what Tazewell does against Ridgeview this week will let you know a little more about maybe moving forward. But I think Union is just too good everywhere. I think that Tazewell could have the same problem with them as they did against Graham and not having any time to do anything. That could be an issue. They'll get pressure on him, I think. But these are all what ifs, obviously, because it might not even have it. Upset. So,
and I'm sure when we get on into the playoffs, we'll talk about the potential matchups like we had mentioned before with Radford and all that. But as I was looking at that quarterback's profile there, I was trying to see some stats. I didn't see it, but where Honaker is ranked 11th in the state in offensive scoring, Radford with Clark is ranked 5th in the state in scoring. So
they're 5th.
They're 5th. So they put up some points too. So I know it's 2A and not single A, but I just thought I'd mention that. So just potential matchups. I mean, it's really interesting to see. I hope somebody out of our region makes it to the state championship game, but I think it would be exciting to see even a matchup between a Riverheads and a Radford who's super high scoring, but Riverheads who they run the ball. So and they're coached very well. So it'd be interesting to see if they could keep the ball away from Radford.
I tend to agree with you. I feel like the single A route getting to the state would be easier than the 2A route.
I think so.
Having to go through Radford or that, but you never know. I guess. Are you? So you're not going? Are you going to any game Saturday? You work Saturday, don't you?
Yeah, I work all weekend, unfortunately.
So next weekend, if you were going to pick one, if I made you pick one right now, out of the possible matchups that you could see next week, which one would you want to go watch?
You're not talking about the first round, but potential matchups in the second round.
Potentially the second round matchup. You had to pick one.
My ideal scenario would be that Twin Springs and Ryco play on a Saturday, and I would like to go watch Honaker and Patrick Henry on a Friday night. The reason why I would like to go see that is because, obviously I enjoy watching the air raid anyway, so that's just a personal bias. But I would like to go watch Goodspeed in person. Because I think he's just, as far as just a fan, I love the way he plays. I love the way that that offense runs. I know it's complete opposite of an air raid, but I love just the way it showcases Goodspeed, his toughness and the offensive line's toughness. So I like to see that matchup in person again.
So you wouldn't pick it. You'd rather do that than any of the 2A matchups.
It is appealing to me with the Union and Tazewell game, but I think you just spoke on a few minutes ago. I think that you could see where I think Tazewell and Union is going to be close. I think that if Union came out there and they won by 2 touchdowns, or if Graham ended up winning by 2-3 touchdowns, I'm not sure that we would be surprised. And that's not a knock on Tazewell and Gate City at all. It's just Graham and Union's been playing at a very high level this year. But I think those other games next week with the single A, I think those could be great games.
And it might not even. I think let's not write off Ridgeview just yet. We keep saying that, like, It could very well, you never know. But
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the matchups for high school around here next week or this week coming up. On today Tuesday, so you got one in a couple of days from now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good weekend. Weather don't completely ruin everything.
You want to go ahead and hit a little bit of college real quick? We'll just breeze through it. Guys, we're not going deep dive into this college stuff this time because I think that most of our listeners, I got a lot of guys that listen to college stuff too, but I think high school football right now is at the top priority for us in this area. And then we were blessed enough to have Parker on at the beginning of this, so that's why we want to spend so much time on that. But just to keep up with what we usually do, we are going to hit on at least 5 games here. So the games that we are going to hit on, we're going to start off with third-ranked Michigan at 10 Penn State. This matchup is Saturday at 12 o'clock on Fox. That's probably the game of the week, if we're to be honest. A lot of storylines going into this game, a lot of controversy with Michigan with the sign stealing and all that. We talked about it a little bit on the Boys Join the Porch. I think it was last week about how maybe the sign stealing thing isn't as big of a deal, but to the extent that Michigan went with, well, maybe not even Michigan, but with Stallions. It's crazy to listen to some of these talk shows talk about it being almost like a crime syndicate and how he had coaches going everywhere and influencing games, changing outcomes just to make Michigan, even if they lost, to look better. I mean, the stories are going wild right now.
So my question is there a rule in the book that says you cannot do that?
Yeah.
Well, then it is a big deal, right? Like everybody, like it wasn't a big deal.
It was.
If you broke a rule, whether the rule is stupid or not, it's a big deal. They're going to get punished for it.
I mean, here's where I'm at with it. Like, I think it was changed in 94, 96. But there's a thing that the coach from Utah put on there, or he didn't put on. He had mentioned not long ago, and I don't know if it was necessarily addressing the thing that happened with Michigan. But Coach Wicks actually shared it on their X account, and I thought it was perfect. He's saying that I wish I was trying to find it right now so I could read the actual quote, but hey, I hear it. But pretty much saying that if your signals are being stolen in game, that is your fault. Because I mean, it's out there for you, and that's part of the. That's just part of like even playing baseball or anything like that. If you're doing it, people can see it. Then I think it's kind of fair game on that part. But I think where Michigan's story is a little bit different is that what they fear is going on is that he has infiltrated different stadiums and to the point that not just sign stealing, but it's almost like a military operation that they've had kind of what you say spies, but scouts going out, having glasses with cameras on them, video recording it, really overanalyzing all of it to the point that it's almost like you really are like stealing their plays. And again, it's kind of if it's out there. I don't know. That's a weird conversation, but I think that a lot of people are in agreement that they just need to put headsets in the helmets like the NFL's got. There's no reason why they shouldn't do that. It would eliminate all of this, and we didn't have to worry about it.
Well, it's still, you still have in college a lot of times. If you don't huddle, you still have to do signals some way or another. Either you're going to steal the signals from the quarterback, or you're going to steal the signals from the coaches. So that wouldn't really solve anything.
Well, I think it was just as far as plays and stuff goes. Like they could just tell them in the ear, but like you said, if you're in a situation where, like, say they can't hear because the crowd's so loud, then you're going to have to use some hand motions.
Well, I mean, or what if you don't huddle? A lot of colleges don't huddle.
Well, but they just tell you in the headset.
But so the quarterback's going to have to signal to the receivers and everybody have to do some kind of.
I think they're all going to have it. They would all have it.
Oh, they're going to put helmets in everybody? Like the NFL doesn't do that. See, the NFL's just a quarterback. So you said like the NFL does it.
I thought when I listened to people talk about it, it seemed like it was on everybody. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
I don't like that either because then you're going to have some kind of conspiracy theory, or not? That's a bad. What's it called? You're going to have some kind of covert operation to get word to all your players, and cheat that way.
Hack
does the
into
rule
the
actually
audio.
say? What's the rule say? You can't.
You can
you can't take video of another team. Is that what the rule is?
The rule, from the way I understand it, is that you can, if it's a day of the game, and while you're playing against them and you steal their signs, it's okay. But you can't, prior to that day, like go out and scout and record and gather
scout,
information
though,
like
right?
that.
You just can't record.
I mean, you can scout, and I mean, if you're scouting, you're watching a game, and everything's just you visually, then nobody knows what's going on in your head. But if you pick up on it by going there scouting, nobody's going to know. But as far as recording and stuff,
I said that to prove that guy coach said it wasn't a big deal because you could. I disagree, because stealing signs off of a video that you can slow it down and actually get every single detail is completely different than stealing signs the day of the game. It's not even the same thing. I don't know why he would say that.
Well, the coach, like I said, I don't know if he was responding to the Michigan situation. He said if your signals are being stolen in game, that is your fault. So he's talking about in game, yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. So I don't know, but the matchup itself, Michigan right now is number one in the country in defense, allowing 6.7 points on defense, and yards allowed, they're only allowing 230. And Penn State's right up there too. They're third in the country on defense as far as points per game allowed, with 11, and second in the country in yards per game. But they're number one in turnover differential. So I think that it's going to be an interesting matchup because Michigan hasn't had this kind of test yet. Penn State has, but now Penn State, to me, did not live up to what I thought they could do. I think we watched that game together, didn't we? Yeah, it was a Penn State-Ohio State game. I don't think Aller really impressed me on the big stage. And I know they're going to be home at Beaver Stadium, but I just think that Michigan, I think they're battle-tested. I think that the experience from last year being in the playoffs, I think they're craving this game because now they get to show, okay, this is what we can do against some top competition. But on the other side, you got Penn State that's like, we already lost to Ohio State. We have to win this game if we want to get in the playoffs. This is a must-win game. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a very fascinating matchup. I saw a thing today that said the NCAA is probably begging and pleading for Penn State to win this, so they don't have Michigan in the Final Four, then having to deal with that mess. Because if they make it to the Final Four and there's a team on the outside looking in that's undefeated, like Florida State or Washington, and they're like, hey, this team right here might be cheating, and y'all got them in the Final Four. And I mean, that's a reasonable argument to make. Like, I don't know that while they're under investigation that you could put them in the Final Four because you don't know yet. So I don't know. But as far as the game itself, not to waste any more time on it, I got Michigan winning. Like I said, I just think they're tested in this big game situation over last year into this year. I think it'll be closer than what the Ohio State game was, but I got Michigan winning.
Talking about Penn State being tested this year and Michigan hadn't been. If you fail a test, does it really matter if you got tested?
Well, I mean, Michigan's been tested, is what I was saying, as far as last year, but going into this year,
though, like Michigan hasn't played anybody yet. Like, I agree, but like Penn State didn't. I don't know. I think they're a very good team, but I don't know. Just something about the way that Ohio State game went didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I thought they were going to get them this year, but I hate to keep talking about it, but could they deal out a punishment mid-season, or would they have to wait till after the season's over to do anything to Michigan?
The last thing I read was that Michigan was not going to seek punishment as a university. It was going to let the NCAA handle the punishment. However, from what I read was that NCAA could take months to decide on what they're going to do, if not years, because it's such a broad case.
Yeah. That's what I was assuming, was that most of the time, if you have something like this, they're going to do a huge investigation to find out how many years it goes back. So if they do take game wins away, they'll know how long to go back to take wins away. So I don't think it affects this year at all. I think. If they're playing, you have to put them in there if they're winning. So
yeah, they'll put them in there. I just think they're probably hoping that they don't have to make that decision.
The only worry for me, if I'm a Michigan fan, is do these players get distracted by that, and does it come into their mind possibility of what's it matter if we win? We're going to get stripped of it anyway. But
yeah,
a lot of those kids are playing for a job. Like NFL, scouts see this, so they're not going to not play good. So I mean, Michigan's going to put their best foot forward, I think, and I think they'll win.
I think
that if they'll, it being at Penn State, I see it being a close game probably, but I got Michigan.
I think that for me, I think that if you're in that program, they probably believe they're innocent, and that they're it's like a us against the world type thing.
Well, is there evidence out there like that proves they're
supposed
not?
To be.
Well, then it's pretty clear cut.
But like I said, once you're in that program, I think they're going to twist it to where it's us against the world. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I love my family, but if one of them,
I agree.
Brings a dead body to the house, I'm gonna be like, hey, that you did that probably. So I'm not going to turn them in, but it's clear to me that you did it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those deals. Like, you can't really hide it at this point. But anyway, let's move
on. Second matchup, we got 18th ranked Utah at 5th ranked Washington, Saturday at 3:30 on Fox. Utah this year, they've been some big games. They showed up some of them. They've kind of shown that they're not quite the Utah team I think we've seen the past few years. Washington, though, they've been playing great. They got the second longest winning streak in the country right now. Penix, Heisman contender. But I don't know that they've been playing up to the level they want to play the past few weeks. So, it could be I don't even want to say a trap game because Utah shouldn't be a trap game. But it's a game that if there was a team that could probably stop Washington, and not that Utah necessarily has an overwhelming amount of talent on defense, but they're just so well coached on that side of the ball. But I think Washington right now, when you know you're head to head with another team, and them in Florida State right now are trying to get that spot, I think that things really start to focus in, pressure's on, but it's a good kind of pressure. It's one that you need. So I have Washington at home.
Utah's quarterback still going to be out?
He's out on year.
Okay, well, I'll take Washington.
Yeah, I like to talk about it every week, so I might just keep bringing it up. I don't know.
That's why I asked. I know you said. I thought you said last week he was out for year, but I wanted to hear you say it.
Yeah.
Say it again about it.
My bad. I actually skipped over a game, but 13th ranked Tennessee at 14 Missouri, Saturday 3:30 on CBS. Still same time.
You should have skipped that. Ain't nobody worth talking about.
Well, I know that. I know Tennessee is not your favorite one to talk about, but they are doing better than I thought they would this year, honestly.
I can talk about how Missouri's going to beat them if you want me to. That's fine.
Yeah. I actually have Missouri, too. I think this will be a little bit of a shootout. I think Brady Cook versus Milton as an exciting matchup. I think Tennessee's running game is what kind of makes it more fascinating than anything. But with that being said, Missouri has a good running game, too, with Schrader. But they also have Luther Burden, and Cook is like one of the best quarterback receiver combos in the country. I think Missouri is going to be kind of itching to get back out there after the Georgia game, and I got Missouri winning at home.
So it is in Missouri?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to take Missouri anyway, probably just because I don't want to say the other words, but
I knew you weren't going to take.
Yeah. I'll definitely take them at home.
Yeah.
I was down there Sunday and parked right beside, the famous G10 parking lot where Morgan Wallen did his song or whatever. Was parked right on top of it, right beside the football stadium Sunday, and I just wanted to puke looking over across the street at that stadium.
Oh yeah, I've not been over to Neyland. I don't know that I've been to the basketball stadium. I don't think I've ever been to Neyland.
I've never been in Neyland.
Yeah.
Been beside of it several times, and like I said, I don't care much for Tennessee, but it's nice place. Yeah. And go Lady Vols is on Tennessee. I'll pull for.
There you go. I saw a thing the other day. I don't know if it was just like a concept that they had out there, like a fan concept, but it was a uniform for the heck. They might have worked last week. I don't even know who they played or anything. I don't remember anything about Tennessee last week, but it was like a light blue uniform, that concept that they were wearing, or I guess, like I said, it could have been a fan art thing.
That's it was light blue. The women's basketball colors, the Summit blue colors that they wear.
That's what they were wearing it for. That's what the fan art for.
It was the honor.
Pat Summit.
I think football and men's basketball last year did it. Yeah, the honor pat or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool.
But blue is a lot better color than that orange.
Well, I mean, I like orange. I don't like that orange as much, but
your orange sucks too.
Listen,
how many different oranges are there really though? They're all orange.
And it's really they're all the same orange. I think it's just different combinations with it.
What goes along with it, yeah.
We got 9th ranked Ole Miss at 2nd ranked Georgia. I mean, you can make an argument this might be the game of the week. Top 10 matchup. Saturday at 7:30 on ESPN.
Where's it at?
At Georgia.
Of course it is.
It seems like that. Yeah, it benefits them in that way. But I think just like last week with Cook and Carson Beck going at it, I think this week will be the same thing with them and Jackson Dart. Ole Miss, yes. Coach Kiffin did get a big win not long ago against LSU, but I think Ole Miss strengths and LSU strengths, of course, they kind of collided their shootout game. But as far as defense goes, they lack a little bit on that, and so I think that this is kind of like the Missouri situation when they play Georgia. It's kind of like that. I think that Ole Miss going into Georgia, and they got a high-powered offense, but Georgia's good enough on defense, and I think their offense is good enough to score too. That I think Georgia's got it.
What was the score last week? Georgia and Missouri. How much they end up winning by?
I'll tell you right now. It wasn't by. I mean, it was by a little bit, but it was 30-21.
Well, I thought, okay. Well, I'm just trying to get my ducks in a row here before I do this. They got ESPN right now has Georgia favorite 10.5. I think it's a little. I think that's a little much. Gosh, I hate to do it, but I want to so bad.
Push that button.
Who's Georgia got left on their schedule? Who got next week looking ahead? Anybody interested?
Tennessee, I think.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
I really, I don't know. Give me Georgia, I guess. We're still keeping track of these.
Well, I didn't mention the record because I messed up and didn't ask you your picks for last week.
Yeah, I figured we'll just throw last week out.
Yeah, I mean, we can do that.
So how many am I behind? Do you have any idea at all?
It was 2 games. Actually, we threw last week out. Which is okay with me because I think I missed a lot.
I'll just go with Georgia, I guess.
You can go with Georgia.
I think it'll be closer than 10.5.
Yeah, that's a pretty big line for that game.
If it was in Ole Miss, I'd probably go with it. But
yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna be pretty similar in most of these things, if I had to guess. But I think we're both going Georgia on this one. So the last game that I want to go through on this is USC at 6th ranked Oregon. Saturday 10:30 on Fox. I can go ahead and tell you that I'm probably not going to be staying up to watch this one. I work Sunday morning, and those 10:30 games are just way up there. So I think that Oregon. I don't know that Caleb Williams is going to play this game. Me and Rusty talked about it last week. There's whispers last week about him not wanting to, or potentially him not playing the rest of the year because he didn't want to ruin his draft stock. I think going into the last week, I think he was 3-7 against ranked teams in his career. And then that loss they had last week, which was a heck of a game between them and Washington. But now going forward, you got Oregon, you got UCLA, and I think the other one might have been Oregon State. There's a chance he could roll off on a huge losing streak. And I think USC is panicking a little bit as well. They finally fired their defensive coach. So I say panicking, but they made a good decision in that panic. They should have fired that defensive coordinator a while back. I think him and Lincoln Riley had a good connection, a good friendship that kind of kept it going on a little bit longer. But I don't know what Caleb was going to play. I've not heard anything yet. It's still a bit early in the week. But if he does play, I think that USC at least can put up a few points. I actually see them playing worse against Oregon, especially in Eugene, than what they played against Washington. I think Oregon's starting to come on their own on defense a lot more as of late. So I'm going to go with Oregon at home.
Oregon by 1,000,000.
Oregon by 1,000,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they win by 1,000,000, then we're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about next week. I'll tell you that. So I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything else college-wise we want to talk about. I think that should be it. Next week we'll try to go into a little bit more. I want to say waste time with it because it's interesting stuff, but I didn't want to sit here and talk about everything super in detail because I want to focus more on the high school playoffs. But especially next week, we'll kind of recap a little bit of what happened this past week in college or this coming week, and maybe do a little bit bigger of a deep dive into the next week's games. So going forward, like I said, we're not going to drag this out too much longer. I do want to briefly mention we usually go with a full preview on the UFC main cards. I do want to mention who's fighting. We won't go super deep into it because we're approaching 2 hours, and I don't want it to be to really drag on here. But we do have a huge card this coming Saturday, UFC 295 in New York. And just to mention the three main fights, you got Jessica Andrade and Mackenzie Dern. Andrade is a former champ, grappler, which makes this a fascinating fight because Mackenzie Dern is an amazing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. It's not somebody you want to take down. So for Andrade, I'm sure she's going to try to take her down. That's going to be interesting to see Andrade's grappling versus Dern's Jiu-Jitsu. Is there anything in that fight that interests you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Mackenzie Dern's jiu-jitsu is legit. Like,
oh yeah, sure.
I wonder how the strength advantage. Looks like she's gotten a little bigger, more muscular for this fight because Andrade is absolute, just like ridiculously strong. So I think you're right about that. Like the grappler versus the jiu-jitsu, like who can kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Who can kind of push their style more into
style matchups.
Can Mackenzie catch her in a submission, or will Andrade just kind of control her the whole time, ground and pound? You never know, but I think probably Andrade is probably better on the feet if it does stay up at all. But I think it'll be a good fight. I think Mackenzie Dern's been kind of coming up, and she'll get so far, and then she'll kind of have a tough loss. I think this is her chance to really catapult into that conversation. So I'm hoping she wins.
our co-main event, which is a huge fight for the heavyweight division right now. In my opinion, it's probably the two future superstars of the heavyweight division. I think that John Jones and Stipe is a fight that we all wanted to see, and it's also a legacy fight, so it's one of those fights that when they got finished, they both could retire, and I completely understood, or would have understood if they had done that, and they probably still will do that, but the two that we got right now is the future. So I always butcher this guy's name, but Sergei Pavlich, who's 18-1, and then Tom Aspinall 13-3. And both these guys, if you haven't saw them, I think their average fight time between them both, I think, is maybe like 2 minutes. So a lot of first round finishes. They both come in with heavy hands, very technical fighters, but they're guys that they're not in the ring that long. So that fight could be over quick. But it's like two just powerhouses meeting against each other, and especially with Aspinall, man, he has been great. After he came back off that injury, and Sergei, he's not been stopped. So that fight to me might be one of the most interesting fights coming into this weekend. We're gonna get on the main event right here in a second too, because that fight's crazy when it comes to striking. But if you're just like an average fan and you're like, I don't know, I'm not really huge into all these UFC cards, this is the one you probably want to buy. Because in these two, the co-main event and the main event, there ain't going to be a whole lot of grappling. There's going to be a lot of high-level striking. Now, on the other side, you could see two quick knockouts and two straight fights. So it might be a big price tag for not a lot of fight time. But what do you think about this co-main event, which is now a new fight to replace the John Jones and Stipe fight?
I mean, like you said, it ain't gonna be boring.
No,
it's either gonna be really, really good fights, or hopefully at least one of them goes longer, and you get to watch some of it. But I wouldn't be surprised if they both ended the first round.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said,
I think that place was a lot to pay for that, but good thing Mackenzie Dern's on this one, and Andrade. That'll be. And again, that's probably going to be a boring fight to people who are just casual fans that are looking for high, like energy stuff that don't really like watching grappling or jiu-jitsu. But I mean, if you actually like that stuff, it'll be a very good one to watch, I think. But
yeah, well, that's what I was saying. That fight for us, we'd really enjoy it. But the two main event, like the co-main event and the main event, would be one that if you're somebody don't really watch it all the time, that you would like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a good segue into the main event. It's Jiri Prochazka versus Alex Pieta for the light heavyweight championship. So, if you don't know Alex Pieta, he knocked out Izzy. I think he's actually knocked out Izzy like 3 times throughout kickboxing and in the UFC. Of course, Izzy redeemed himself with the last fight they had. But he's, by Joe Rogan standards, one of the best kickboxers in the world. He's super high-level striking. He came straight into the UFC and just made an instant impact, knocking people out. And he's just a fascinating guy, scary guy. But in the same hand, Jiri Prochazka the same way. That guy comes in there, and he might not have quite the accolades that Pieta has around the world, but Jiri comes in there, and he just spinning elbows, flying knees. I mean, he's as unpredictable as it gets, and he's like, it's crazy. He's always outside in the woods, like punching trees and just doing a lot of crazy stuff. A lot of people compare him like a samurai or something in the way he trains. I don't know, but
he spent here recently. Apparently, he spent 3 days in the dark room with no food to find himself better.
Yeah, he's just a wild dude, man.
You don't need to find yourself.
He's crazy.
You pretty well found yourself. You're a crazy good, like crazy maniac person that's good at fighting. Like, what else? What other kind of level are you trying to find? You know what I mean? Or what kind of other thing you're trying to reach for? But yeah, he's one of them people that's just like mentally, he's just I don't want to say. I'm sure they're all mentally strong, but he has that mindset of like, he believes fully believes in that. like be one with whatever and like stuff and the fight and like, you know, that whole spirituality of the fight game or the whatever you want to call it.
He believes it to his core.
Like it's a whole different level with him than it is some people.
Yeah, and you know, with him, he was the champ. Like he beat Glover Teixeira in what was the fight of the year. So the way I know he'll end up getting the belt after that because Jerry was hurt, and props to Jerry because as soon as he got injured, he said, "I relinquish my title. I'm not holding it up just because I'm hurt." Like day one, he said that. But in a lot of people's minds, including my own, he's a champ.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and apparently his shoulder injury was one of the worst shoulder injuries that the UFC doctors had seen. So he's been out for a while. That's my biggest concern is you're out that long, maybe a little rust, but the way he fights though, there ain't no filling out process. He's going to be 100 miles an hour as soon as he gets in. So yeah, which might not be smart against Pierre. Like,
well, yeah, that's what's going to be fascinating about it.
Yeah, I don't know that he might not need to just tap brakes a little bit and get the length down, but yeah, I ain't going to tell that guy not to do whatever he's going to do though. So
and to see whoever wins this, if they get to fight Hill, because Hill's the same way. He's a super high level striker.
Mm-hmm.
So that light heavyweight division, I mean, it's guys at the top that you don't want to fight against.
The technical striking of Hill against either one of them would be a very good matchup.
Yeah, I think it'd be fascinating against Jerry because Jerry, you don't have to worry about there being a boring fight. Against Pieta, just because of the IQ of both fighters, that could be a boring fight only because they're going to have so much filling out time between Hill and Pieta if they fought. Which, you know, as UFC fans or MMA fans, we would enjoy it, but as your average fight fan, I know that it would be one of those things where they would want the action to be nonstop. And with Jerry, it's going to be that way, no matter who he fights.
Remind me to tell you something later.
Yeah, that's right. So just before we close this out, because you know we're not going to spend a whole lot of time either on the country segment, but I just wanted to put out my top 5, and he wants to throw out his throwback, and then we're going to close this thing out. This is just a little bit longer than what we usually do, but it's been a special episode for us, the first when it came with our interview and stuff, and we'll speak on that here in a second. But your Porch Talk's top 5 new country of the week. Number 5, you got 21 Guns by Brandon Davis. Going Places by Travis Denning, number 4. Leather by Cody Johnson, number 3. Dirt Cheap by Cody Johnson, number 2. Number 1 is Whiskey Bent, Cody Johnson, and Jelly Roll. Just to talk on this just for a second, I did not really want to do Cody Johnson for 3 of the 5, but if I'm just being honest,
it could have been all 5.
Yeah, that's in there. I mean, I know that's not talking about, but still, I think that with that album, it's amazing. If y'all haven't listened to Cody Johnson's new album, I think it's the most streamed country. Well, the songs right now, he's got like 7 of the top 10 most streamed country songs right now on the charts. So it's one of those things that it's an album you don't want to miss. It absolutely blew Jason Aldean's out of the water. So Rusty was right on that. And Going Places by Travis Denning is also a really good song. It's a more of an upbeat song talking about a woman leaving him, pretty much she's going places. You know, it's a really good song. I like Travis Denning a lot. His last EP was really good. At 5, we had 21 Guns by Brandon Davis. If you haven't heard Brandon Davis, he's a guy that he's not big yet, but man, I like everything he puts out. And that song, it's about, you know, a fallen soldier. And I think that like the line that kind of gets me says, you know, we love you, soldier, and we hate to say goodbye. Nothing's sadder than the song that's being sung by 21 Guns. So if you haven't heard that, it is a pretty emotional song. And, you know, just to close it out real quick, the songs by Cody Johnson. those top two that I had, Dirt Cheap and Whiskey Bent. Dirt Cheap speaks to me a lot because I think of a lot of older people in this area that I know I spoke to, and I'm like, man, or sir, I would probably say, why didn't you leave and go to the beach? Or why didn't you retire and go here? And I always say, if I'm retiring, I'm going to the beach, or I'm going over here. And it's kind of like, to me, it kind of shows why those people are like, no, this is the home that I've created. My memories are here. This yard here, that's the memories I've created. My kids were out there. My family's out there. I buried my dog out there. And my kids come back. They want to come back to this home. They don't want to go somewhere else. I thought that really spoke to me with this area. And well, not just, it could be any area, but just maybe some of the older people I've talked to and the passion they have with the land that they own and the reasons for not getting rid of that. And Whiskey Bent for me is a really important song. It doesn't really necessarily pertain to my life as far as the whole the woman situation in the song, but just the Whiskey Bent part. I don't talk about it a lot. I don't talk about it a lot on here, but just in my past, the songs talk about trying to fix what whiskey has bent. So I like the play on words and stuff like that. And I think personally, I like it for me. And Jelly Roll, even though I'm sure he still drinks and stuff, I think about, even though it's talking about whiskey, I think about his drug abuse or whatever in the past. And I feel like even though he's saying he's trying to fix what whiskey bent, I think in a way he's talking about he's trying to fix what he had going on in his life. And so I kind of hear that in his voice in that song. So that's all on that. I just want to go through it real quick.
Dirt Cheap song is a really good song. Leather's a really good song. That whole album is really, really, really good. Right. At least today. There's several other ones on there. Make Me a Mop.
That
really,
song's
really
great.
Good song. Like I said, they're all good. I thought Jason Aldean's was good, but it wasn't as good as Cody Johnson's, I didn't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, you talk about that Dirt Cheap thing. I guess the whole thing, like Dad's a good example of that. Like when he retires, he wants to, not to the beach or to wherever, but they want to move closer to Katie and the grandkids. Yeah. And I don't think he could really care less about living in a smaller house or a bigger house. It's everything else. Like he can't stand the thoughts of leaving there because of that stuff. Like it's, and I think that's like you said, a lot of people around here are like that. Like, why would you put that much time into a place? You can't. It ain't that easy to stuff, and you can't take a lot of that stuff you can't pack up and take with you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, my throwback song of the week, and I was trying to think of something that would like represent the high school playoffs. And I really couldn't think of nothing right, that worked. So I just went with a good one. I know everybody's heard it before and everybody likes it, but in case you forgot about it a little bit, it's Copperhead Road, Steve Earle, come out in 1988. Great. It's a good one to get you going. It gets me going anyway. If I wanted to pick me up and play that and get that intro into it. Bagpipes or whatever, and I'm good. So,
well, if I wish we had the rights to it. I love that song. We'd have it as an intro every episode. Yeah, we'll just let you play it and we'll do it like that.
Yeah, and we're probably not going to be able to do another episode this week, right?
We'll see. Yeah, I have to see how it lines up. Yeah.
If we can't, just in case we can't, happy Veterans Day to all the vets out there. It's Saturday, I think. I know Cameron feels the same way I do, but eternally grateful for all y'all do. They're done, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think that I didn't really talk about it a whole lot whenever I mentioned the 21 Gun song, but I was going to mention that me and you were very patriotic, and I got family that's in the military right now, so that means a lot to me. like songs like that, and I'm not over there, but that's family, and I've had my dad, he's been in it and stuff like that, and I think right now is a scary time around the world. I mean, I'm sure I probably talked to my grandparents and my dad. There's been scary times throughout probably multiple lifetimes with generations going down, but just the sacrifice and stuff that they put out there, it goes without saying. I mean, that's more than I could ever do, and I can't imagine what they go through. But at the same time, the utmost respect from us, utmost love from us, and if not that we can relate, but if there is any vets out there, because I know that sometimes you get back in as far as just needing somebody to talk to. We might not be able to relate to what you went through, but at the same time, if you need somebody to talk to, holler at us, and we can give you a bunch of silly football predictions and talks and stuff like that to give some humor.
And especially if it's anybody that's local at all.
Yeah.
And this don't just go for vets, obviously. If anybody needs to talk to somebody, but call the right people you need to talk to. But like a vet, if you just want somebody to go ride around fishing, hunting, anything with, contact us. I'll drive, come pick you up. I ain't got nothing going on. So always reach out. There's the statistics, like however many a day. We can just if we can get that number cut down by one, it's worth it. But we need to get that number down to zero, because it's I know I worked with a couple of guys that served and was in the thick of it, and by all accounts they seem fine, but some people don't. Some people are obviously not fine, and a lot of people are fine until they're not, for whatever reason. So, like to echo what you said, if anybody needs anything, like, reach out. No problem at all here. We'll both do whatever, but if nothing else, just be a buddy, be an ear.
Yeah.
They volunteered there, to do that. We can volunteer some time to help one of them out.
Yeah. And we have some guests lined up and stuff like that going forward, but I know my brother-in-law, he's right now over in Japan, so he's going to be a guest that's going to come on here at some point. So happy Veterans Day to him, and also my father-in-law and my dad. So, but like we'll talk more about stuff like that going forward. But I did want to mention that if he is listening, we're going to have him on. I don't want to sit here and spoil it, stuff like that, but we'll get into his life and stuff like that as much as he can talk about on certain issues, because I know being in the military is only so much you can talk about. But
unless you're, we'll not get into political stuff right now.
Yeah.
End on a good note, on a good positive note, thanking the veterans instead of talking about politicians.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say again, and I think I speak for me and Jamar both, which I'm sure he'll speak on it too. Thank you again to Parker Bandy for coming on. This is their first time with an interview. I think that me and Jamar, we've had some technical difficulties during this that we have went through and stuff. So we're going to try to get some of that kind of fixed up a little bit post production. But I think that Parker came in and did an amazing job, and then I'm really hoping that the ones of you got to listen to that, listen to the interview, hopefully y'all stayed through all the rest of the stuff as well, because every week we try to put out content like this, and I'm hoping that going forward we'll have even more interviews. I think Parker, hopefully, I think he's set the standard now, and it's going to be hard to follow up on that. But to that same point with interviews and stuff like that, I know that we have mentioned going to Hoopla actually here in a couple weeks. It'll be a local basketball tournament held at Pilgrim's Knob over at Twin Valley. So we'll see how that works out. I would love to go over there and be fortunate enough to at least interview some coaches or maybe even some players and stuff. I mentioned it last week. We're going to continue to roll this thing into college, or not college, into high school basketball. I know we got some high school football podcasts around here, but I'm not sure how many high school basketball podcasts we have. I know we have a great one with
but that's so far. They're just kind of doing interviews with former players and coaches.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
and don't talk as much about. No, some of them are current coaches.
Yeah,
but you don't dive into as much as like
the current games.
Like we do. So as far as what we're kind of blab about, I don't know if there's anything that I can think of.
Yeah. So that's just things going forward that we can kind of look forward to, and for the ones that listen and stuff and they have subscribed. And if you haven't subscribed and you are watching the show, please subscribe and share it around. I know we've had great support from some of the local high schools. They've been sharing our content. We had, I'd have to think of his name, a guy from WCYB share stuff the other day. And we're extremely happy about that because anybody at that kind of coverage, sharing something like that. Andrew McClung's who it was, shared one of our posts. So yeah, just if y'all like our stuff, give it a share. If y'all have any ideas on guests that you want to see on, get a hold of us and we'll try to work something out. We got an exciting one coming on in a few weeks. Like I said, continue working with us. We are all about fan participation, interaction. That's you guys are what makes it work. We're just two common Joes or average Joes on here talking like anybody else would. So
I'm probably a little below average, but
I'm right down there with
average Joe. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not really.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as sports wise go, we were kind of. You were maybe a little above average running back. You were very fast. Injuries got you.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed playing. That's all that matters, I guess.
We played. That's all we can say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, like I said, thank you to everybody already. I mean, going forward, we got a lot of exciting stuff. So this episode 9, awesome. We had to work through some things after the interview and stuff like that. But again, great experience with the interview. So thank you for Parker for coming on. You want to say anything, J. Moore, before we close it out?
No, just again, we like everything you said. We appreciate it. Anybody got any? Anybody knows a sponsor? Anybody would want to be a sponsor? Tell them to hit us up. Anybody that goes to does any business with Cantrell Holdings, tell them we sent you. They're trying to do a count. Told me to tell people that way we know that if anybody if it worked or not. Just tell them that Porch Talk is where you heard about them. Other than that, like I said, thanks to all the vets. Happy Veterans Day, Saturday. Everybody have a good weekend. Good luck to all the high school teams. Stay healthy. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. God bless.